to my channel where I'm here to entertain and inform you all things Marvel and DC. Superman, probably the best Arrowverse show I've ever seen in a while. Don't get me wrong, I still love The Flash, Arrow, but Superman and Lois is right up there. Before I get to this review, make sure you hit that subscribe button and that bell to get notified when videos like this and so much more drop. Superman and Lois, episode 8, entitled Hold the Wrench. Now, let's talk about Lange and her whole family story, basically dealing with Morgan Edge and that whole thing of handling stuff with her father, more or less. Basically, she's trying to get into this Broadway musical, I guess, and her father promises to help her out. When we actually get to the show, he doesn't show up. We find out that he's back to drinking. It was fine. It was nothing really amazing or outlandish about this storyline. It was just, man. We also had Jordan in this episode. Now, he wasn't actually in this episode really at all. I think he had like 2 scenes. Jordan actually put on the back burner these last 2 episodes. I mean, it was good seeing him, but it wasn't really enough for him. Let's get into the meat and potatoes of this episode. Lois Lane, I'm going to say this right now. Elizabeth Tulloch knocked it out of the park for me. She is honestly the best Lois Lane I've seen in a long time. She's better than Amy Adams, in my opinion. Basically, you'll get her in this kind of therapy session. She's talking about a story that involves her and Jonathan, more or less. What she said to Jonathan that was wrong of her. And basically, she's dealing with this stuff for Clark and John Henry Irons situation. And we basically found out they was actually going to name his name Natalie after the girl that we saw in those flashbacks on that other Earth, John Henry Irons' daughter. And that other Earth, Lois Lane. So, Lois Lane, it was amazing. Her scenes with Jonathan, her scenes with Clark, was amazing. Her emotional scenes, probably the best acted. Jumping right into Jonathan's storyline episode. So he's basically been to deal with just to his whole family lifestyle and lying to people about his family, dealing with the fact that father and his sister has powers. He basically has, nothing. So, this leads to Lois and Jonathan going to the van that we saw, I guess, Captain Luther, John Henry Irons. They go and investigate more about him. So it's basically leads to a confrontation with, Lois. And I have to say, he was probably the best acted kid in the Arrowverse, honestly. Now, let's get to Clark's storyline for this episode. Now, Clark wasn't in this episode as much, but he was more involved with his story in last week's episode with him. He's interrogating on John Henry Irons. I said that we get the flashback. John Henry Irons escaped in his ship, more or less, and we see the black-suited Superman, try to get in and kill him, more or less. I think they cut off right before we know what actually happens. It cut off. I see this red light, more or less. Now, I don't know if this is Crisis or something else. I think this has to do with Crisis. I don't know. I mean, I might be wrong. But yeah, this leads into a big fight between Kryptonian army men and Superman. It was a good fight scene. It wasn't really action in this episode, but yeah, it was still a good fight scene. This leads into the episode where we see John Henry Irons leave off. I don't know how I feel about that, to be honest with you. I don't know if they should have let him go. It was just kind of weird to me, the fact that they would just let him go. Foreshadow this kind of team up between John Henry Irons and Superman. John Henry Irons leaving and him riding off into the sunset, I guess, until he shows up again in next week's episode, or he's coming back. He's definitely coming back. So this is where the episode ends. And yeah, that was my review of Superman and Lois, episode 8, entitled Holding the Wrench. Now, tell me what you think in the comment section down below. What you thought about this episode. Did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you love it? What do you think that John Henry Irons' story is going to go from here? With that being said, I see you guys in the next video.